Heart to Hearties. We are the official after show and podcast where we bring your questions directly to the cast and crew. I'm Marg in San Diego, California.
And I'm Dawn from North Carolina.
Having just seen episode 10, we heard a collective gasp from the Hearties. And so we invited a couple guests tonight, wanting to bring down the collective temperature a little bit before everybody heads into the week. Welcome, Brian Bird. And will you introduce the guests that you've brought with you?
Thank you, Marg and Don. Happy to be with you guys again. Always a pleasure. And yes, I would love to introduce to the Heartyverse, the Hearty world, my new friend, Gregory, who is one of our wonderful writers from season 12. And Hearties will love meeting her and getting to know her. For season 12 and Lord willing beyond that as well, but we'll leave that in the hands of our patrons over at the Hallmark Channel. But Joy is a fabulous writer, and Hearties are already seeing the fruits of those wonderful gifts this season. But she's worked on such wonderful shows as Madam Secretary and Joan of Arcadia, and just a whole bunch of really, really good shows. I remember Joan of Arcadia took the place of Touched by an Angel that I used to be a writer producer on. It came on the following season after Touched by an Angel went off the air, and really continued the tradition of sort of faith and family and community on TV. And so she's a perfect person to join the ranks of our writers on When Calls the Heart. Just brings so many great gifts and really believes in the values. And so we're thrilled to have you, Joy. It's been fantastic.
Oh, thank you so much, Brian. Oh, thank you. It's been such a treat to join the show. I have to tell you, Brian, we playfully called Joan of Arcadia Touched by a Teenager.
That's funny.
And Joan of Arcadia is one of my favorite shows I ever worked on. It was only my second job. My first show that I wrote for was Felicity, and it remains one of my favorites. The themes of faith. I loved that when I first met with the creator of Joan of Arcadia, Barbara Hall, she said she wanted to talk about physics and metaphysics. So we had a scientist was one of the Joan's brother, and we got to talk about the behavior of light particles and how it's kind of unexplained. And then we had the premise of the show briefly. It was that God appeared to this teenager, this very ordinary teenage girl, Joan, in the guise of very ordinary people. And they would always you weren't sure which one was God. And they would say like, yeah, it's me. I'm God again. And please go do this thing. And a premise that's kind of been echoed in a few other series ideas, but that one was really special. And I feel like joining When Calls the Heart reminds me of the really special place that show occupied, that it could be real and grounded about family stories, but also have swooning romance and stories of faith and community, which, is all I'm coming to TV for comfort right now, and for reassurance that we are all able to come together and help each other through this time.
So good.
That's amazing. And we can use some reassurance tonight. So
great. Yes,
absolutely.
Here to provide.
Yeah. So you wrote episode 10 with Lindsay Storman, our showrunner, and it was directed by Siobhan Devine. But before we go to anything, so tell us, Joy, how did you go to the writer's room for When Calls the Heart?
Well, I'm from theater, and what that means is I'm very comfortable doing lots of wonderful creative projects for no money, and that's what I was.
That's what I do.
Yes, it costs me money to do theater. So that's what I was in the middle of doing. We were just emerging from our dual strike of the Writers Guild and the Screen Actors Guild. And it was a very theatrically productive time for me. I was working on a play. I actually wrote and directed a short film, and got to produce that with my husband, who's a cinematographer. I was partnering with lots of wonderful theaters here in the Los Angeles theater community, but I was not making any money. So I was very grateful when I was visiting my husband on a film set in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and got a call from my dear friend Lindsay Sturman, with whom I had been a writer when Lindsay was just transitioning from being an editor. It was, I think, her second or third series she'd worked on with me on Joan of Arcadia, and we had
Wow.
stayed in touch. And she said, I'm on When Calls the Heart, and I just feel like we need one more voice on our writing staff. I'm looking at the schedule and how many scripts we have, and we have the money. I'd like to bring in someone, and I thought of you, and I was very flattered that she asked. So I got this call on a Friday, and I started on Monday, and I did not watch all 11 episodes that weekend.
I was gonna say impossible.
That
Impossible
would have
for us to
been
do.
hard.
I had to
Yeah.
ask everyone's indulgence for those, like the first
Yeah.
2 weeks. God bless, Allie, Derek, and Beth. They were very patient in telling me we can't do an oil company story. We already did it.
Yeah,
Many iterations of Rome. What about Elizabeth feeling like I'm feeling shy about loving again after losing my husband? Oh my gosh, Joy, go watch seasons X, Y,
Been there, done it.
yes.
Yeah.
So they were very helpful, but I got the lay of the land. I found, I've done a lot of seasons of TV. I know how to sort of find out what do they need? How can I contribute? Everyone was so lovely and welcoming me. And yeah, we were quickly off to the races, though. In fact, I was grateful that Lindsay had me contribute a few scenes to scripts before I was off to write my own whole script, because that
Okay.
is the best way to find out. You never know until you sit down at your keyboard. Can I summon these people? Will it, can I
Yeah.
channel their voices? And it was reassuring to be able to try it out in a few contained scenes and then get sent off with my first script.
Sure. Wow. Well, we're just so glad that you're here. I mean, truly, we're just we're just enjoying your work at this point. But this last episode, so we talked, and Marg was talking about the gasp. It's a lot
Yeah.
of them this episode. But what about that kiss? And talk to us about having Georgie, played by the iconic Melissa Gilbert, back in town, and the writer's decision to have Bill Avery seize the moment for romance.
Wow.
I know. Well, that was always pitched the first time we started. Well, first we realized, hey, Melissa's open to doing the show. Let's come up with something for her.
Yeah.
And I love old flame stories. They're irresistible. The One That Got Away. And I'd love to explore more of this between them, if we get the chance to. You know, it feels so fraught when you get to find out what would happen if I really tried to make it happen with that one who got away. It might not work, but
Right.
Yeah.
the moment we pitched her as an old flame of Bill's, we knew it was going to end with what Lindsay kept calling the 007 kiss.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
And, as we started to dial her in, I just loved what we found for that character, that she was once again one of our many independent, smart, working women on this show. I love that tradition of this show.
Right.
And that Bill had recognized her talent and nurtured her and supported her way back when he was a much younger guy. I thought that's going to reflect so well on Bill Avery.
Oh,
seriously.
yeah, it's so good.
It was important to me to find a version of her saying, it meant something to me that a lot of the guys didn't want me there, and you were never threatened, and that meant something to me. So I was glad we got to say that too.
Well, I love the whole late in life love kind of
Yes,
thing too.
that's
So
right.
I think that's
Beautiful.
another element that speaks to the Hearties.
Mm.
There's, some of us we're still looking, so all's
Yes.
good.
Yeah.
So I love
There's
that.
lots of life. Life has
good.
lots of chapters. It's not just that first one who puts a ring on your finger that you stay with for
Exactly.
a lot of
Well,
Yeah.
I'll just add that, to your point about strong women, women who accomplish much with, with little in a small town like we do. That really, and Michael and I, when we first launched this show, we had the advantage of most of the fathers and husbands being killed off, before the beginning of the show.
right.
So the women had no choice but to take over and to really, find what they needed to do to keep this town together and to build this community. And uh, it really has been. I honestly, I believe that is the one secret sauce that we sort of stumbled on that I think really has been the draw to this show for, we'll just admit it, mostly female audience.
True.
We don't, you don't lose your man card if you love When Calls the Heart. So we always enjoy meeting the husbands and the fathers who like the show. But it truly is that. I think that is the thread and the through line
Mhm.
that really has continued all these years in such
Mhm.
a powerful way. And so I'm thrilled that that you love that as well, because I think we need to continue that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
just getting back to that 007 kiss,
Yes.
I just think, I mean, we can enjoy strong women, but there's also a moment where a strong man leans in and gives you a pretty amazing kiss. And we have not seen Bill Avery do that in
Yeah.
ever good
Yeah.
long while. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
um, it was
Yeah.
time.
I had some great conversations with Jack Wagner, who plays Bill
Oh,
Avery.
really?
He reached out to me and I love talking with actors. I started out as an actor in my theater world, and I just always enjoy. I mean, what they do is irreplaceable. They talk about the secret sauce. Like, you've got to fall in love with these people, and he called and said, I want to cut a lot of these lines before the kiss. I want him to do it. Like and I was happy to collaborate with him, and we cut a few exchanges that seemed like he was tiptoeing toward it, and he
Mm.
Yeah.
said,
Touchdown.
go for it.
Touchdown.
We'll find it on our faces. And he was right.
Wow. No, that was there's a lot of magic, but the idea of the Georgie is an older person, and that whole dynamic, strong person,
Right.
but Bill Avery is a hoot. I mean, he knows what's going on. I mean, we have just enjoyed his
I've enjoyed him all
performances.
season. I think he's had
Oh,
a
Oh,
phenomenal season. So,
yeah,
yes.
it'll be,
Yes.
definitely.
yeah.
Yeah. The
Well,
discovery for me was how funny he can be,
I know. Well, we appreciate it for sure.
Awesome.
So this last episode too, thanks for taking care of MacGinty.
Yeah.
We were appreciative for that for
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
But I was just curious about the scene between Lucas and Nathan and how they confront each other. Did you enjoy just writing that scene?
You mean when they go together to confront McGinty?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was so grateful that we found a way for Lucas and Nathan to do something together where they're supporting each other, because I really enjoyed their
Yeah.
kind of burgeoning bromance in season 9,
Right?
Yes.
and it was great to get a hit of that. And I liked that they both sort of took turns losing control of themselves and pulling the other one
Exactly.
back. That was really fun. Uh,
Fun.
yeah, it was pitched to get a little more rough and physical, and it didn't feel right, so we
Mm,
turned the temperature down. No one's going to throw a fist here,
right.
uh but it was enough that Nathan lost control for a moment. And then I loved that he felt remorse about it
Mm.
and confessed that to Elizabeth. I thought that was I love when we can find moments where our characters don't fulfill their highest idea of themselves and
Yeah.
then can work through it. And when we can show shadows and contradictions in our people, I think it always pays big dividends.
Yeah.
That's powerful. Well, that MacGinty, terrific casting there, because he gets under everybody's skin.
He sure does.
Mhm,
Yes.
mhm.
Right away.
Yeah, just a son of a bee. Yeah, one of those guys.
Oh my, there was so much that we need to catch up with the writers. So we've been missing them
Aw.
this year. We've been seeing all of their great work, and we just appreciate them. So please tell them we're just missing them.
I won't
But
pass
we
it on.
have a pressing question
Okay.
about Lucas and Edie.
Yes.
I was curious about how this season, season 12, um, they're not really interacting with
Mhm.
the town a lot. Was that a decision in the writing room, or it was just a situation that it just was really better just to have them
It,
interacting together?
yeah, no, I understand there's been some concern of like, oh, does this mean we're gonna kind of like reduce Lucas's presence in the show? Not at all. It was never intentional to silo him off. It was purely just a function of this story. We loved the opportunity to show him functioning as governor. It's hard to find a version of that feels within the size of the kinds of stories that we want to tell, because we don't want to go to Capital City and introducing a bunch of new characters. So how do we keep it connected to Hope Valley? But it just so happened that his moves with MacGinty and Edie were kind of disconnected from a lot of other stories until Allie got involved.
Right.
And I'm trying to think who else we intersect with. Well, Nathan to an extent. Yeah, but Lucas is absolutely integral to the show and to Hope Valley, and we're definitely hopeful that we get to tell lots more stories with him being involved with lots of people through Edie, and connecting Edie more with the show too, because we love Chris and Miranda McDougal, who plays Edie. We just think they have great chemistry together on screen, and we're really
They
enjoying them.
are, yeah, they're really
Yeah.
good. We had the conversation with Miranda. I mean, that's one of my favorite chats that we've had. I mean, she was just lovely.
Oh,
So
that's great. I love that. Yeah.
love her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a really good add, to the show, and just to
Mhm.
kind of, honestly, give the true Lucas Hardy fans out there, some hope for his future romantically as well.
Yeah.
And she's unlikely. She's so different than Elizabeth, which is, I think, really good and fantastic.
Yeah.
In terms of
Mhm.
just the dynamic that they have, and they almost have a little bit of a rivalry, because they're working at cross purposes in the season.
Right. Absolutely. Yes.
But it's also, the sparks of that friction are really strong from a romantic standpoint too.
Yeah.
And I've loved seeing that.
Oh yeah, it was so fun to write the scenes where they're playing cards and clearly liking each other, but on different sides of a really fraught circumstance that affects everybody in town. Those were delicious scenes to write.
And they're working dinners.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Well, I like to think maybe they were isolated, and then there's a future in which they'll be enveloped a little more in the town, and
Yeah, we'd love to do that.
and
We'd love to play
pursue
more of those.
something, because that would be fun. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
But
Uh,
the dovetailing too of the mysteries is
Mhm.
fantastic, right?
Oh yes, that's to
Oh,
come.
I'm so
Okay.
glad you
Yeah.
said that, because at one point we were like, did we make a mistake? Did we make a structural a mistake having these two mysteries touch like this? Like, is it too much? And we would have to we got a little tangled sometimes remembering it, and we took turns explaining it to each other. But in the end, we sort of exhaled and felt like I think we pulled it off. I think it all makes sense. So see what you think when you get to the end.
Well, that
Exciting
was
coming up,
my
I think.
favorite
So,
part
yeah.
of the season. For
Great.
me, the
Oh,
mystery is the one that, it's just the red thread.
excellent.
thread.
Going into this, into episode 10, we did see an uptick in comments from Hearties that they were craving more romance for Elizabeth and Nathan.
Mhm.
Now it looks like life has thrown them a pretty big curveball.
Yeah.
I assume that when you arrived, Joy, because you said you came in mid-season, that
Yeah.
that the arc had already kind of been mapped out. But tell us about the diabetes diagnosis,
Sure.
and why it struck the writers as one that they wanted to tell, because our girl Elizabeth has been through a lot
I
already.
know, I hear you. For just to clarify, I joined about 4 or 5 weeks into the writer's room, well
Okay.
before we had written any scripts. So I
Okay.
was part of building the arc.
Oh, good.
And
Okay.
and we just every season, Lindsay was doing this, and we do a search of like, what are the news stories of 1922? And a search led to one of the biggest events in Canada in 1922, which is the breakthrough discovery of insulin as a treatment for diabetes.
Okay, that's
I-
hopeful. Good.
yeah.
I like it.
So we just came across it and thought, well, let's connect this to our show. It's so emotional, and often diabetes is a pediatric condition. That's when it often emerges in people. And we talked about different kids in the town getting it, and we thought, well, let's really give it to the center of our show and have Elizabeth watch this emerge. And of course, if you look back, you can see the breadcrumbs we put of him having increased appetite,
We
increased
see
thirst,
it now. We
falling
see it
asleep in
now.
class.
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And a really powerful thing that, and I offer this as a ray of hope because I know it was a tough ending. Um, uh, a medical historian who specializes in the development of insulin in this year, in the over the next 10 years of insulin's release in 1922. She said something so striking when we chatted with her about this storyline. She said, in a matter of weeks, a fatal disease became a chronic disease.
Mm,
So it
wow.
was truly a breakthrough
Yeah.
miracle.
Mm.
And I offer that as a ray of hope for
Ray of
you
hope.
to cling to.
All right.
Mm.
Good. I think it makes sense, having seen episode 10, why some of the, we've also been seeing Hardy's comment this week about how light the season has been. It's just
Yeah.
been, the dancing and the confetti and the humor and the comedic stuff. But the cry for Jack that she lets out is like, we've heard that cry before,
Yes.
Brian, and so it really triggered us. We just felt all the things that we felt losing
Yeah.
little Jack's dad. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to, I want to echo the hope of Hope Valley that Joy has already mentioned here. But I also want to say, for those people who are craving more romance, have you not been watching the show?
I know.
Oh my goodness.
I
The
know.
Roaring Twenties has been roaring love, and
Uh,
with Nathan and Elizabeth. So
yeah.
I'm just kidding, but look, this show has always been its best dealing with real life issues and not just living in fantasy. And we understand that, that's part of the draw of When Calls the Heart is sort of the idealism and the romance and all of that. We talk about, Alfonso coined the acronym, HER, humor, emotion, romance, years ago. I always add an O at the end for optimism,
Aw.
to make the acronym HERO. But the show is at its best when it's dealing with real life issues that we all have to deal with, right? And yes, we want it to be escapism for people that are already, that are struggling in life. We understand that. But I think it's best when our characters are incredibly relatable in real life issues that honestly, we're all going to end up in the hospital, right? All of us, 100%. So it's important for us to gently tiptoe into those heartbreaking things sometimes. Now, I've famously said in the past there will be no more, you know, uh, of our beloved characters leaving town in coffins. We don't do that. Everybody knows why we had to do that in season 5. So the many apocalypses and the collective gasps across the country, I think they're fantastic. I'll just say that. I don't think we should ever apologize for, causing a few heart palpitations here and there, because it's really good television. It's really good television.
I remember years ago talking with John Tinker, and I can't remember what the ending was, but he said he really tried to be selective about having people go off to bed at night with a really jarring
Yeah.
ending. Was that the writer's decision, or was it an editing decision? Like, it was very, that heartbreaking thing of seeing, Faith Carter look up to the heavens and have to walk in and deliver that news. I mean, it's pretty intense. So talk to us about the decision to end the show there.
Well, when we were talking about 10, 11, and 12, we talked about those, where to put the events in those last 3 episodes. We thought of episodes 10 and 11 almost like a two-parter. We knew we were going to drop something difficult, very upsetting, traumatic even, on Elizabeth, but give ourselves enough time to show real stories of how she was going to learn to cope. And so we thought, well, 10 is early. We've got 2 more episodes. Stick with us. And we knew we were going to have 11 to sort of find their way toward access to this new miracle cure treatment, and then still have episode 12 for a healing, a gentle love. A little bit of time maybe has passed. Well, you'll see. And so we'll resume a more familiar tone before you're sent off for the season. So think of us as honoring John Tinker's advice for the season as a whole. And to get there, you got to have a little moment at the end of episode 10. But, Lindsay talked to me a lot about there's a contract that we make with our viewers, which is that we will never leave you in suffering.
Yes.
And we are going to honor that contract.
That's good.
Well, that's good.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And the cliffhangers in season 12 have been very gentle for the most part.
Yes.
So every once in a while.
We get a little jolt every once in a while.
I was going to say, I remember all of them. One were more difficult than the others. So, our show is not, it's not a streaming show. We watch it live, and we, gather at X and hashtag Hearties, just to kind of comment. And, so it's a community kind of environment for us. But so and I think you already kind of talked to us about this, but we're going to learn about little Jack's fate going forward. So what is the state that he is currently in, facing type 1 diabetes? Because I remember it was all called like it was a sugar disease.
Yes.
I don't
Oh,
remember
wow.
that.
Yeah,
So
when he
where are we here?
collapsed, like, what was it? Yeah,
Yeah.
why did he collapse? He just had low blood.
He has been suffering. I learned that diabetes is a kind of an immuno compromised disease. So his body has been attacking his pancreas. That's what happens
Right.
when you have this disorder. And so his pancreas has stopped working. And so when he collapses, oh gosh, I wish I weren't uncertain if he's hyperglycemic or hypoglycemic,
Okay.
but he has gone into one of those two states.
You
And-
can collapse either from hyper or hypo, low.
Right.
I'm diabetic, so I
Mm.
live with this. The you know, from personal experience, the times that I've had the low blood sugar is when I really feel like, okay, I've got to get something in me here because I'm feeling faint. And I
Mm.
think that's probably what's happening for him. But yeah, the pancreas stops producing insulin.
Right.
That's what diabetes is. And insulin is a sugar regulating hormone in your body that you need to keep from getting either too high or too low a blood sugar. Ground up pancreas tissue is how they made it originally until they realized they could take and extract insulin from pigs, and now it's synthetic, but back in the day it was pig insulin.
What I learned from Dr. Amanda Mahoney, our medical historian from Case Western Reserve, who spoke to us, one little detail that will give you a sense of what Brian's talking about. Eli Lilly had a facility in Indianapolis that was the central hub of insulin manufacture, and their facility until the 1990s, had train loads of pancreases from slaughterhouses
Oh my
to
gosh.
manufacture into insulin.
Wow.
So synthetic insulin is pretty recent.
Yes.
Mm.
The power of the storytelling, though, this year, which Joy referred to earlier, is that it literally was invented in 1922
Wow.
in Toronto. So that's so
Incredible.
cool that it timed out like that, and I'm so glad that you guys went there, Joy, because I think it's this show has done beautifully with picking up the news, like you said, the news of the day, and the advent of the telephone and the radio in town and all of those things. Technology, we're following technology, in Hope Valley, which is fantastic. And so with medicine also, the fact that, because had it not been invented in 1922, in little Jack's case, it is a fatal disease, right? Without
Yes.
Yeah.
treatment.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
The
so,
yeah, the doctors who invented who found out how to manufacture insulin, when I was watching documentaries, there were many parents were sending in photos of their children before and after. And it was truly like a miracle. Within 2 weeks, they went from the treatment at the time was a starvation diet.
yeah.
And so they went from looking like starved children to flourishing children with rosy cheeks. Like it was truly a miracle.
Unbelievable. And how did they even think about grounding pancreas? I don't know. That's
Well,
just
yeah, they'd been trying to find a treatment for diabetes for hundreds and hundreds of years. Like
unbelievable.
we have historical archive documents that show Egyptians writing about sweet
Yes.
urine, which is diabetes.
Right.
Yeah, it's been in the human race for a long time, and 1922 is when it changed.
Wow. What
Yeah.
a story.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Well, when we had another storyline that was written before the pandemic. What was the chicken box? What did we have?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so, but it aired at the time, so no one knew
Yeah, it
when they
aired
were
during
writing it.
COVID.
It was
It was
just
Yeah.
early, yeah.
perfect timing. Yeah, so
Yeah,
it was
well,
interesting.
and we talked a lot about, I remember talking to everybody who was like, oh, but once they have insulin, it's fine. And I kept saying, wait, go back in your mind. Remember when the mRNA vaccine was released? It was, how can I get it? What are the risks? Like, we just lived through a big medical breakthrough. It comes with problems and questions, and we've
Yeah.
got plenty of problems and questions to play here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the
That's-
trial aspect of insulin back then too, for him
Yes.
to get into a program that literally there were only 6 people that took it, originally, right?
Right.
That was the original trial in Toronto was 6 different people, and
Yeah.
none of them were children. And so that's what's until later, but that's what is so great about the way this all just sort of timed out. But look, the other thing too that for me makes it powerful is, without giving away too much about the last few episodes, is that it's also about how you cope
Mm.
when you get a diagnosis. And again, every family is going to go through something like this at some point.
Yeah.
My lovely wife Patty just had hip replacement surgery that we haven't really told too many people about, and it was a really hard thing to go through.
Mm.
She's on the tail end of that now, but we're grateful for the healing that has been taking place, because she was in misery for several
Long
years.
time, yeah. So glad to hear
So
she's okay.
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
and so but it's the great equalizer. That's this show does such a good job of becoming a great equalizer for all of us. It doesn't matter how rich or poor or where you come from, what job you have. Life comes at us, and we all have to find a way through. And this show does a great job of helping us learn how to find a way through the challenges with grace, with hope, hanging on, never giving up.
That's a lot of heavy conversation about what his disease is. But, at the end of episode 10, then usually we have a game that we do for for the end of the show.
No game
Um,
tonight. Yeah,
yeah,
no
no, I
game.
don't think that it's something appropriate, but because you're here, we do have some wishes for some, and a lot of the Hearties in the Facebook page, and they're asking things. And
Yes.
one is, Hearties are looking for the missing gold,
Mhm.
and many want Nathan to put some gold in on Elizabeth's hands. I don't know. You have
Nice segue there.
two episodes to wrap this up.
Mhm.
So what can you share or tease for this next 2 episodes?
I'm
Little
going
Jack
to
needs to be okay first, but then we'll also take some gold. Yeah.
I'll just give you life is uncertain, but love is the buried treasure that can see us through.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Nice.
Love
My
that.
goodness, I love it. All right, that's a pretty good one. I can't really think of any kind of cute comeback to that. That's so
I
beautiful.
know. Me
Buried
neither.
treasure. I love it. Episode 11, which also is written by Joy Gregory and Lindsay Sturman. So we're just like cruising into the end of the season and getting to see so much of your work. So thank you both for just taking some time to put our minds at ease. We really appreciate it. And it's great to meet you, Joy, and introduce you to the Hearties. We're thrilled that you're with us, and we're excited to get to talk more with the writers. We loved this episode, as painful as it kind of was. So thank you and Brian, you've been on speed dial all season with us, so we appreciate that too. So
Well, it never gets old. I always love sharing with you.
What a treat to meet you both and to meet the Hearties. I look forward to many more conversations.
Oh, we are as well. So we are here for you, Hearties, this next week. So, we're gonna endure until Sunday. So, and we're gonna see you on Sunday, 9/8 Central for episode 11. So maybe we'll have some resolution. I don't know. But make sure that you join us in X and use the hashtag Hearties, and then like, subscribe, comment below with if you want to opine about this episode with Joy and Brian, or even about the episode itself, and YouTube channel and or our podcast channels as well. So join us, whatever is for you, listening or watching. So we have like 5 interviews this next week. So
Wow.
tune in and,
lot.
just enjoy. So and I know that we've had some comments about, I'm behind about all of the interviews. You know what? It's all there. So enjoy it. We're just so pleased that people are talking to us, and we're just a gift for all of us, for the cast and crew, that they are talking to us. So I love that. So we will see you the next time on Heart to Hearties.
Bye.